Hey everybody, I'm finally back. Sorry if I sound sick. The pollen is crazy right now and my allergies are killing me even with medication. So anyway, while I settle back into the routine of stuff, I figured I'd give a little recap of the past 8 months or so. I think like 7 countries, 5 states, multiple transatlantic flights. It's been a lot of travel. So here we go. So if you saw the first update video, you know that I was in Nicaragua to sell my property that I have there. And to get there, first I took an overnight bus from Coimbra to Madrid. And since my flight wasn't until the afternoon, I had pretty much the whole day to walk around and explore the city, which was really nice since I haven't been there since high school. And as for the flight, it was like 10.5 hours long, but it was direct, so I didn't have to deal with the hassle of going through the US. And for only 300 euros, it was definitely worth it. And after spending the night in San Jose, I bused to the border and crossed over into Nicaragua. Things move slowly in Nicaragua, and since there's going to be owner finance, there's a lot of like back and forth about all the details and all that. So it took a while to get everything all worked out, and then at the last minute, both me and the buyer backed out. And it was kind of funny because I was stressing all day about telling the realtor that I didn't want to sell it, and he was stressing out all day to tell me that the buyers had backed out. So it's kind of funny, but it's good it all worked out in the end. I ended up taking it off the market, and I might think about it again in a year or two about selling it, or probably more likely I'll try to go in with a friend and build a house back on it to rent out. After the beach, I went to Granada, which I'm lucky enough to have a friend with one of the nicest hotels in the city. So if you're ever in Granada, I definitely recommend staying at Miss Margaret's guest house. It's a beautiful old colonial home. Really nice to visit Granada again. I used to live there before the beach, and in the early 2010s, there was a good friend group of a bunch of us in our 20s and 30s, and it turned out that a bunch of us just happened to be back in Granada that week, so it was good to catch up with everybody and relive old times. And of course, visit some of my favorite restaurants. And doing some day trips, like visiting the house of some friends at Laguna Pollo, the beautiful crater lake just outside of Granada. I was also there doing La Griteria, which in Granada normally kicks off the Purísima, which is like a week of street processions, but since large public gatherings are still banned after the 2018 crisis, it was pretty much just the service in the church. However, small amounts of fireworks are legal again, so there was still a bit of festive atmosphere. And after Granada, I went up north to one of my favorite cities in the country, Matagalpa, for some cooler weather and hiking. And of course to visit some coffee farms, since Nicaragua grows some of the best coffee in the world. And all the town squares were decked out for the Christmas season. And after all that, I went back to Costa Rica for a few more days in San Jose to visit some friends that, like many Nicaraguans, no longer lived in Nicaragua. And while I was there, there was a big Christmas tradition that I didn't know anything about and just stumbled upon, but the Festival de la Luz, the Festival of Light, was a very beautiful, huge parade. Very impressive. And like any good parade, it was full of marching bands as well as traditional dancers from all regions of the country. Flying out, I had a nice view of all of Nicaragua's 15 or so active volcanoes. I flew back to Arkansas for Christmas as a little side trip to Missouri to visit family there. And also while I was in Arkansas, I heard some of the tornado damage from the March tornado, and luckily my mom was in the middle of moving, so she wasn't home at the time, and the house received minimal damage anyway, but just 2 houses up the street was a lot of damage. And after that, I flew back to Portugal via Germany and spent the next couple weeks back in Portugal just kind of resting and getting ready for the trip back to the US and work in the Gulf of Mexico. The time passed pretty quickly, and then it was time to fly back across the ocean yet again. And after a layover in New York, where I luckily made it out before a blizzard, I had a few hours in New Orleans to sleep before it was time to get on a very early morning bus to Mississippi to get on the boat. And I never would have expected such cold weather for the Gulf Coast, but it was a 20-degree wind chill while we were out standing on the dock waiting to board. So if you saw the second update, you might remember that I can't really show anything from the boat. There's a lot of proprietary stuff and so many different contractors. There's just like a blanket NDA, so we can really only show the ocean, which generally means beautiful sunsets like this one. But I can say that the food was amazing, and even after they canceled the resupply, the kitchen staff was incredible. For the most part, the weather was pretty nice. It was my first time out at sea in the Gulf of Mexico, but I think pretty standard winter weather. Except there was a few thunderstorms. This one in particular was very strong, just lots of lightning all night, and then pretty much tropical storm force winds all day until it moved on to shore. So people are saying it's going to be a strong hurricane season this year, and after being out there this winter, I would think so with the temperature of the water. But I actually enjoy the rough weather and seeing the power of the ocean, and especially since this was a over 300-foot boat, it wasn't bad at all, especially compared to what I've been in Alaska. After getting off the boat, we had the night in New Orleans before our flights the next day. And since New Orleans wasn't new to any of us, we weren't too concerned about trying to cram in all the tourist stuff. So we pretty much just walked around the French Quarter and of course got some of that good New Orleans food. And on the boat, I listened to a podcast about the Lalaurie Mansion, so we went to check it out. It's allegedly one of the most haunted houses in America, and we were there with, I think we counted 12 ghost tours all at the same time. And no trip to New Orleans is complete without at least a quick stop to Bourbon Street. And a little Zydeco. So I was originally thinking of doing a double rotation, which would have been 3 months on the boat, but I didn't realize, and I guess no one else caught it, that one of my certifications expired while I was at sea, so I couldn't stay on. And I had also, a friend kind of roped me into another project that was supposed to be a even nicer boat and better pay, which wasn't exactly how it was. But anyway, I had to get off the boat and redo that certification. So the certification is called Boziet, and there's only a handful of places in the US that do it. And one of the places that you can do it is about an hour outside of New Orleans. And if I'd been aware of it, I could have flown in a day early and done the 1-day refresher. But since it had expired, I had to do the whole thing over again. So after factoring in hotel, rental car, and food and all that stuff, it was actually a lot cheaper to do it in Portugal. So the training has a lot of parts. There's like survival at sea, basic firefighting, escaping a smoke-filled room, CPR, using a lifeboat and life raft, and kind of the big thing is helicopter escape. And so they have like a helicopter fuselage and they dip it into a pool and you have to escape out, and they like flip it over, and there's all these different scenarios. I, for the life of me, couldn't find the video from the last time I did it in Houston, and the place I did it here didn't allow photography or video. But in the US, there's always someone with a GoPro when they do it, so if you just type in Boziet or Hewitt in YouTube, you should get a bunch of videos that show the experience. So like I said, I came back to Portugal to do the training. It's 4 days. It was a really beautiful area just a little bit south of Lisbon. And after the training, I thought I would have a couple weeks back home, but the project got moved up and it turned into just 2 days back home. And then it was back to the airport and off to California. I flew Turkish Airlines, which I'd always discounted in the past because the hub is Istanbul, so it's a 4 or 5 hour flight in the wrong direction. But the airport is super nice. It's brand new. I think it's still being built, and the airline itself was absolutely incredible. This was like a 14-hour flight to LA, and on these super long flights, it's always nicer than just a normal flight. But you got 2 free bags when every other airline was $75 to $100 for just 1 bag. And during the layover, I got food vouchers for the airport, even though it was just a normal layover, not a delay or anything. And it was all half the price of any other flight. And I had an overnight layover, but if I had been there during the day, I could have done a city tour of Istanbul, which my friends have done it and they've really enjoyed it. But anyway, it was just such a nice experience. It was like how flying was in the 90s, and this isn't an ad or anything. I just really enjoyed it so much, and the food was so good, even just in regular economy. I definitely recommend it if you have the option. The California project being a real nightmare, so I don't really want to relive any of it through editing. But there was one really cool experience before the project started, visiting some friends from college. We were out at the beach for sunset and very unexpectedly saw a SpaceX rocket launch. You can hear their kids going absolutely crazy about it. I had never seen a rocket launch before, so it was really exciting. And I did see several more throughout the project, but this was definitely the best view, and it was just really incredible to see and so unexpected. It was a really cool experience. And I just happened to get back to Coimbra right in time for the start of Kima, which is the end of school year graduation celebration for the University of Coimbra. And I'm pretty sure it's the biggest event of the year in the city. This year was the 125th Kima, and it has a big parade with, I think there's over 100 floats. And the celebration itself lasts about a week and a half and is one of the largest parties in Europe. With big concerts every night, like Mike Towers. And huge parties lasting all night until sunrise. So that's that. Sorry I've been gone so long. I'll be back to normal house stuff next week, already working on several different things. But before I go, I did want to talk about one thing. If you're like me, you've probably been just in a state of depression since last fall, watching a genocide play out firsthand on your phone every day, and just wondering what to do, and like you go to marches and donate to all the different charities, but you just still feel so helpless. And I don't really have an answer to that, but I will link below a few charities that you can give to, because I know just one person donating, it feels so insignificant, but as a group, it's more, and it's something, I guess. So if you're interested, I'll put in the description some links to Palestine Children's Relief Fund, Save the Children, Operation Olive Branch, and World Central Kitchen. Um, like everybody else, just feel so helpless and don't know what to do, but I have a platform, so the only moral thing to me seems like it would be to use it for some good. And I know the very nature of that is going to bring out the trolls in the comments, and I'm not looking for arguments. You're just going to get blocked. And if you have an issue with children getting medical care and food and shelter, then that's an issue you need to look in on yourself and reflect on. So thank you for watching, and I'll be back next week with regularly scheduled house stuff, and thanks again. Ciao.